Biblical order, breath, seed, and authority. What the Bible actually says about hierarchy. Peace and strength to the remnant. Today I'm teaching on something that stirs people up every time it comes out of my mouth. Not because it's controversial, but because it's biblical. I'm talking about hierarchy, order, breath, seed, and authority. And I'm teaching it because I had a real-time conversation with a few women online who pushed back against the very structure God himself established. Let me say this plainly. I don't argue opinions. I quote scripture, and scripture has an order. So let's talk about the breath and the seed. The Bible records only one moment where God breathes the breath of life into a human being. Genesis 2:7. God breathed into Adam, not Eve, not both, not humanity in general. God breathed once, and he breathed into the man. Then in Genesis 2:22, God builds the woman from the man. She receives life from the life already placed in him. That's order. That's structure. That's covenant. And the breath and the seed follow the same line. The man carries the seed. The woman multiplies what the man gives. That's what Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 8. The woman is of the man. And in 1 Timothy 2:13, Adam was formed first, then Eve. This is not superiority. This is structure. Now we come to the man's authority over vows. Then I brought up the Numbers, chapter 30, verses 3 through 8. The passage nobody wants to talk about. God gave the father, or the husband, the authority to nullify a woman's vow the day he hears it. If he stays silent, the vow stands. If he tries to cancel it later, he bears the iniquity, not her. That's not patriarchy. That's accountability. God never holds someone responsible for something they have no authority over. Now let's look at Miriam judged and Aaron spared. Then I reminded them of Numbers chapter 12, verses 9 through 10. Miriam and Aaron both spoke against Moses. God rebuked them both. But only Miriam was struck with leprosy. Aaron was spared because of his priestly office. Again, structure, order, responsibility. Now we want to talk about the priesthood as always male. Then I asked myself a question. Are there priestesses in the Holy Bible? And the answer is no, not one. The Bible never used the word priestess. God never established a female priesthood. Women were prophetesses, judges, intercessors, teachers, but never priests. The priesthood is always male because it's tied to lineage, sacrifice, and covenant representation. That's why Christ is the high priest, not the high priestess. And the book of Revelation does not change the order. Somebody tried to use Revelation 1, 5 through 6 and 5:10 to argue the priestesses. But Revelation says priests, not priestesses. The Greek word is male. The structure never changes. This modern resistance is cultural, not biblical. So when these women pushed back, they weren't reacting to me. They were reacting to scripture. They were reacting to order. They were reacting to the idea that God has a structure that doesn't bend to modern culture. I stayed calm. I stayed scriptural. I stayed structured. And that's why the conversation drew attention. Because people are not used to a righteous man who knows the text and doesn't flinch. Now let's talk about the clean truth. Here is the truth. God breathed into Adam. The woman received life from the man. The man carries the seed. The man bears responsibility. The man can nullify a vow. Miriam was judged. Aaron was spared. There are prophetesses, but no priestesses. Revelation says priest, not priestesses. And the order is God, Christ, man, woman. That's not hierarchy for domination. That's hierarchy for responsibility. That's covenant structure. That's scripture. Strength to the remnant.